GOP and Dominic Thompson with the Fairfax County Democrats. So Matt threw out a lot right there. What do you make of these numbers and what we're seeing so far? They seem to be pretty in line with some of the polling we've seen over the last couple
was
weeks.
over here taking copious notes. What, is he getting ready to take a final exam?
No, it is, well, again, I said I didn't believe the polling. I believe more in the people of Virginia, how they vote and how they vote their conscience and their pocketbook. Well, again, it's still early. We still have a marathon to go through. But yes, it is expected that Spanberger would be leading because not only she had the big win behind her, and as you know, when we have a Republican in the White House, which is President Trump, who's not really liked in Northern Virginia and other parts of Virginia, we are going to face trouble. We're going to have the headwinds. At the same time, there's an economy issue also. At the same time, the narrative, what I heard, was based on issues which are important to Virginians. And at the same time right now, the concern on the economy and the apprehension people are facing, I think that's what people are voting for. But is Spanberger a moderate? Which she's not. And that's what is very important because you keep saying she's a moderate, but which she's not. She's a progressive leftist, and you will see the emergence of socialism in the United States, starting from Virginia, not only just New York.
Dominic, you have to respond to that.
Yeah, I do not understand how you could ever say Abigail Spanberger, of all people, CIA agent, is a socialist.
Well, you know what?
Like, she is not a Mamdani whatsoever.
But you know, this is very important. You know, you try to find candidates who are either veterans or CIA, and so the general people start to say, hey, you know what? They sound conservative, or they sound commonsensically conservative or moderates, but they're not, because if you see, every time she's open for the open borders, which means let the immigrants or the illegal immigrants come into our state. At the same time, she's voted for the Clean Virginia Economy Act, which has basically put $1,000 extra on families when it comes to paying energy bills. So on each time, she has voted on social leftist issues. And that's what the concern is, that the Virginians will now realize how expensive it's going to be on their pocketbook now.
You know, no matter how well you talk, I don't think you can make Abigail a socialist.
Well, thank you for recognizing I do talk well, but at least you are understanding that.
What I will say is these results are really interesting right now. I mean, I think the Attorney General race, it's going to be really a question of how well does Abigail perform. You know, I think if Abigail is getting over 55% in the race, I think that Jay Jones has a really big shot with Attorney General.
Because she'll carry it.
Yeah. So, I mean, because it's not just split ticket voting that we're looking at when you look at the results. It's also voters who voted for Abigail Spanberger and who voted for Ghazal Hashmi skipped the Attorney General on the ballot.
Do we know, do we have a sense of how many people maybe went down the ballot and decided not to vote at all for Attorney General?
We'll have to leave that to our amazing analysts over there.
In the past, I was looking at a stat before the last race. It was roughly 17,000 people who did not vote for Attorney General in that race. Jason Miyares, obviously we know who won that one.
It seemed like in some of our reporting that some of the people we talked to seemed to telegraph that they were not clear about whether they were going to weigh in on that part of the ballot, which would be an interesting thing to kind of study, right?
Well, you know, safety, security is important to all families, and be it in schools, be it in your home place, and I think that's a very big concern. So I think that when it came to safety and security and making Virginians feel safe, Jason is the right choice. And especially with Jay Jones, with what he has shared about his inner thoughts and his inner feelings, how you feel about the other side, I think it's a big concern. Would I want that person to be the top cop who wants to bury someone who he doesn't agree with?
You're talking about temperance and judgment here.
Exactly.
But when you talk about governing in this split ticket, can you both sort of explain to us how you vote for a Democratic governor and then you vote for Republican Attorney General in terms of getting things done?
Issues.
How do you make that work?
The thing you have to recognize, right, is, you know, the text messages that came out from Jay Jones, unacceptable, terrible behavior. We've talked about political violence on this panel earlier and how it's affecting, you know, Democrats and Republicans in our whole country, right, and the morale of our whole country. But we have to look at policies, you know, and what Jason Miyares has done on the job. I mean, Jason,
he's done a fantastic
job.
Going to
he will work to do his best to make sure that abortion rights don't exist in Virginia. He is, you know, worked.
Do you want abortion?
I like to finish what I say.
Sorry, go ahead.
But, you know, he's already defended cops who have been, you know, accused in police brutality cases and making sure that charges aren't brought against them. And, you know, you look at education. The Trump administration is trying to strip funding away from states all over America, from our education system, which is already underfunded. And Democratic state attorney generals have been suing the Trump administration to get back education funding, and Jason Miyares has sat out of that. So policy-wise, there's a lot to worry about with this guy. If he gets
We've got to
reelected.
move on from this, but I'd like to come back to this when this is over to kind of talk with you about the question Zoe was presenting, which is, in this environment, is there an environment where you can have a split ticket and two different political ideologies can work together on behalf of the people they are supposed to represent? We'll come back to that. But first, we got to